For Jane, would you like to make the request?
Rama Chaloka Dipati Sampati Katanjalayana Divaramaya Chatta Sati Dasahata Parajakajatika They say to Dhammam Anukam Pamanpatam.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Hello again. Good to be with the OBS, the old friends. I see you on other venues, so it's all one happy family now, isn't it? I had a lovely day today. I was in the workshop in the morning, and then Ajahn Pavur and we went out onto Pike Lake and canoed across the lake to Boone's place, and that was lovely. And as we were coming in, the thunder was rolling, and we got in just before a thunder shower. So the people on the lake they're so happy to get out of the city, and everyone was waving to each other. It was really very sweet, very lovely. So we're doing fine here. The place looks very, very spruced up. Venerable Sri Maydo has done a great job in organizing that, and a lot of very helpful hands. So now I have to say something. Where to start? Yeah, these talks. I always sort of open these talks to remind everyone that I kind of assume that everyone has a fairly good grounding in Theravada Buddhism. So I'll just assume that you understand the kind of technical terms that we use. If not, just write to Vivian. She'll sort it out for you. So there is a place for study, as I always say, and to have the formal structures is helpful in just in terms of how we communicate with each other. We have a common language. But as I was saying with one of the monks just earlier, how sometimes Theravada can be very wordy. You know, there's just so much analysis and so many lists, and you kind of just want to go canoeing. And that's a danger of intellectualism. So on one hand, you have the constant thinking about the Buddhist teachings. That's one extreme. So it's only thought, and that, as Ajahn Sumedho was saying last night, that leads to doubt. You know, just one idea after another idea. Have I got that idea right? So that's one extreme. The other extreme is we have no structure. There's no intellectual structure. It's just like whatever. It's all good. You don't want that either. So you want some structure. At least that's what I found. But what we need to do is take that and take it deeply into our hearts. So one of the structures that you often see in Theravada Buddhism is the Brahma-viharas. Brahma means, shall I call it a god? The heavenly realms, or the heavenly abidings. Yeah, heavenly abidings, divine abidings, divine love, you might say. And there's many ways to talk about it. And it's sort of chopped up in 4 pieces. Metta is translated as goodwill or loving kindness. Karuna is compassion. Mudita is the joy of beauty and nature or in others. And upekkha is the sense of peacefulness with the way things are. And for me, all four are pointing to one thing, and they're pointing to love. We don't use that so much. Oddly enough, we don't use the word love very much, like we write on our letters with metta and so on. Because, like, if I wrote with love to a lot of people, they think, well, oh, he's lost the plot. We better be careful here. So, love is a funny word. It's a very, very powerful word, and yet we were talking about this. How sometimes we're reluctant to use it, maybe because we think love is attachment, or that it's used in such a broad way. I love potato chips. I love ice cream, and I'd love to tell my neighbor something, give him a piece of my mind, and then there's passionate love, and so on and so forth. So it can be a kind of confusing word, but culturally for me, love is a powerful word. Metta. I've been using the word metta for 45 years, but it's not as powerful as love. It's just a very, very powerful word in my culture and the way I've been, conditioned to whatever. And so sometimes the way these teachings are described is you do metta practice or you do compassionate practice. And I kind of thinking a lot about that. I like the idea more you abide as love. So, like I was joking to the people from the Thai embassy, you do metta practice in the morning and then you do scrambled eggs for breakfast. It's like you do this thing. But is it not like when I think of my teacher, and I'm very fond of my teacher, I'm very, tremendous gratitude, all those good things. When I remember him, it's not like I'm doing a metta practice. His memory triggers love in me, and then if I do that again and again and again, then I abide as love, but not sentimentality. Sentimentality is thought, and not just liking either. And it seems to me those like goodwill and compassion and the beauty and the joy of beauty are kind of access ways for love, for the same thing, because it's the same heart, isn't it? And I don't know about you, I feel it here. I don't feel it up here. I feel it here. I feel it very strongly here. So I found that to me it seems important that consciousness be loving, or consciousness is love. I don't know how to say it. But when my attention has allowed this sense of any of the Brahma-viharas to arise, and I do that, then consciousness is abiding as love. The difficult one is upekkha, equanimity. Now, equanimity gets defined as like I won't react to praise and blame. I'll be cool. I won't react to good fortune or bad fortune. I won't react to pleasure or pain. That's the kind of thing. Well, your mind's so cool, you don't react to these things. But then I was pondering, well, what is the relationship of upekkha, equanimity, to love? Because it seems all of them are about the heart being open. And how might that work? Well, much of life is not loving. Much of life is just a grind, or disappointing, or fractious, or depressing, or there's a lot of negativity in the human experience. And so what might upekkha or equanimity be in relation to that? Well, just as I can let Luang Por the memory of Luang Por Sumedho to open my heart, if I can abide as open heart, and this is not easy. This is not easy because what we tend to do is our default position is thought, isn't it? We just go to thought and then we analyze or whatever, and we go into self-thinking. So that's not, for me at least, I don't know about you, the default position, default posture or attitude has not been the heart, it's been thought. So for me, opening the heart and abiding as the heart has been difficult. And part of the problem has been trying to get rid of thought. And all of us have had meditative experiences where the mind is finally silent, right? And that's really, really pleasurable. It's a really pleasurable experience. And then, of course, we try to manufacture it on our next meditation and feel frustrated. So then we try to get rid of thought. So I think in opening the heart, one of the very, very important things we need to do is to really be aware of the desire to get rid of thought. Because as long as I'm trying to get rid of thought, that's not opening the heart, obviously, because that's aversion, and that leads to more thinking. So oddly enough, the opening of the heart is facilitated by understanding thought. Well, it's not so odd, actually. It's kind of obvious. So I would say that's something you want in developing the heart, if this seems a reasonable proposition. Do look at that. Do look at that, the attempt to get rid of thought, and then do some kind of a practice. So people can do Metta Bhavana with the desire to get rid of anger. How could that possibly work? That's already aversion. So you do some kind of replacement therapy. I hate that person, and then I put the picture up. Maybe that works. Sometimes it works, but quite often it's just trying to get rid of something. So, but if you begin to see what thought is natural, there's nothing right or wrong about thought. It's a phenomena that arises and passes away, and you notice that the what we call vibhava tanha, the desire to get rid of thought. That's very, very important. You allow thought to be just as it is. If you don't catch that, if you don't notice that, you're just struggling with thinking mind all the time. We indulge or we try to get rid of. We indulge and try to get rid of. So thought is thoughts, and so we have techniques like naming and so on. But the basic thing for me is the aversion to thinking. That's been something that I struggled with a lot. So once that's understood, then I found very, very important is to no longer just take the default position of thinking, but make another part of my visceral experience, in fact, any part of my experience, the default place, and that's the heart. That I find very, very helpful. And I haven't found it easy to do that because of the strong tendency to analyze and think, and then the tendency to try to get rid of that. So I found that just by constantly stimulating that and noticing it all the time, that not only do I notice the heart when it is in a open, loving mode, but also I notice the heart when it's angry and fearful and annoyed and or feeling clunky or whatever, because it's the same heart. And this is interesting. Well, you can feel annoyance at someone or anxiety about something. You can perpetuate it with thought, and that's the problem. It comes up as a particular mode of being or mood. It gets triggered by whatever, and then it gets perpetuated because I think we don't know how to stay with the heart. If you stay with the heart, the perpetuation of these kinds of negativities can't perpetuate because its food is thought. It can certainly affect you strongly in the heart. Certainly, I mean it can be very, very powerful stuff. But allowing it to be with the heart, staying with the heart, seems to me what we mean by spontaneity. Because I sense that spontaneity is not just some kind of fantastic creative response to life, but it's the non-perpetuation of these things that can go on for hours and hours and hours and days through thinking. Whereas if I feel fear, I feel anger, these kinds of things, or annoyance, and my default position is, where is it in the heart? How does the heart feel now? If I do that, then I find that it doesn't perpetuate. It doesn't carry on. it vibrates the heart, and actually it leads back into compassion or kindness because it's the same heart. So oddly enough, I found that the very nature of a negatively stimulating thing is also opening of the heart. Huh? So I can, and then those negativities of aversion and fear, they tend to fall away because they're no longer perpetuated, they're no longer fed, they're no longer believed in, but they're not negated. It isn't a matter of like saying, I should or shouldn't be anything. It's not that. It's no, life feels this way. Sadness. I found like sadness is a very powerful feeling. As I said in one of these talks, just seeing something on BBC and India, and it's so sad. It's so very, very sad. So what do I do with that sadness? If I take it to thought, I just perpetuate. If I take it to constructive thought, let's say, okay, maybe, yeah, I could do something. Okay, fine. That's good, calculative, constructive thought. But the other kind of thinking, it's so sad, so horrible, what's going to happen? That perpetuates something which isn't actually compassionate and open. But if I really allow the sadness to be with the sadness, how do you say it? Abide in the heart with sadness. It's hard to explain. Then what happens? It's the heart is constantly opened by sadness. Whereas if you don't, you go to thought, it goes into horror or what's going to happen, and into worry and all other manner of things. So back to my consideration on upekkha, on equanimity. So what might equanimity mean then in terms of love, in this particular way I'm talking about love? Well, if like I had a nice experience a couple of mornings ago where I was doing, I do a lot of practice here every morning, 2 hours or something like that. So I was doing that and very present with that, and there was a power failure. And we have a gas generator which runs off our gas tank that clicks on, keeps our power going in this building, and it's beside my window, and my window was open. So I'm meditating, it's very, very silent, and very, 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 very loud sound. And I, because I was with the heart, I could see there was actually very little reaction to the sound, because the heart could just take it. It could just, it's no problem, because I'm abiding with the heart. If I had been in thought, right, close the window. Close the window. And I can close the window, nothing wrong with that. But it's very interesting, just the meditation was in the heart. It didn't really matter. And that's not a big thing. The sound of a generator is not a big thing. It's not like cancer or breaking your leg or losing a loved one. But it indicated to me that upekkha and equanimity has to be love as well, in this particular way. And yet, I don't always feel loving. Sometimes I feel grumpy. And sometimes I say inappropriate things, and my discussions are clunky, and I walk away thinking, that wasn't good. But what do I do with that? I walk away from a discussion thinking, boy, you blew that one, Viradhammo. Do I perpetuate that in thought? I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I should apologize. That can go on for days, or an hour or 15 minutes, and that's the perpetuation. That's not spontaneity. Whereas if in my interaction with life there's something that comes out clunky, and I kind of offend someone or say something wrong, or I perceive it as wrong, and I stay with the heart, then that doesn't perpetuate, and it doesn't. And I'm not going to callousness. I'm not going to some kind of, it doesn't matter, they deserve it. I'm not going there. I'm going to actually the place which will allow for a more humane interaction next time. Be the next time 5 minutes or 2 hours later, whenever. Whereas the other, if I perpetuate some negativity in thought, what's going to happen the next time I meet this person? Maybe I'll feel guilty, or the same kind of pattern might come up. I haven't actually facilitated a better response to that person, a spontaneous response, because I haven't recognized this one. I haven't been with this one. I've gone to thought and perpetuated sense of self through thought. Now, I don't know how you use the word love, but again, like metta for me, it's an okay word, but love is just so powerful, isn't it? So I think of my mom, and we have the chant on loving kindness. And a mother protects her child, her only child. As a mother, how's it go? Just as a mother protects her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings. I mean, I call that love, right? Does a mother do metta in the morning for her kids? No, she just loves them, right? She abides as love with her kids. She can feel irritated at her kids, right? And she can, yell at them not to do that. But she abides as love with her kids. Now, I don't think that's a practice. I don't think she wakes up, okay. Maybe she does. I don't know. Mothers will now send me masses of emails about how this is done. I'm a guy. But I had a mother. And my relationship to her was very loving. And even if I felt annoyed or irritated or exhausted, the love was always there. So it seems to me that the Brahma-viharas must be something about that, right? Rather than a practice that you do and then you make pancakes. You do metta and then you do pancakes. These seems a much more rich possibility. And so I think these practices are important, but I think they're doorways into love, which is not attachment. It's not liking something. I love fish and chips or something like that. And it's much, much more profound than that. You can dislike someone in the moment because their behavior is not likable. Maybe they're being very crude or something like that. I don't like that. But that doesn't mean that there isn't love there, right? It seems to me. Obviously, you can hate people too. And yeah, you can go for that one if you want. But how would you do that? How would you really find you're just like hating someone? What would you do? What would upekkha or equanimity be in terms of hatred? Well, wouldn't it be going back to the heart and just registering this hatred without judgment about yourself or others, but just in a spontaneous way? Wow, this is strong. And what happens if you stay with that? I suggest that then that energy is worked through and the heart's even more open. And this isn't smarmy. It's very difficult, actually. It's not sentimental at all. And try it, right? Sentimentality isn't thought. And thought is thought. But the feeling I have for my teacher, when I bring my teacher to consciousness, is not a thought. The thought helps me. But it's a sensibility that is, oddly enough, it's always available. Just like consciousness is there. Is that a robin? Can you hear the robin? We have a robin farm here, by the way. Robins all over the place. Anyway, I'm getting a bit... I hope this isn't a rant on love. Nothing could be more boring. But what I guess why I'm saying this, I've just been contemplating that word, and why don't we use it more? You use it with your kids. But it's, because we're afraid of attachment, or maybe we associate it with lust, but there is something about our hearts which are very loving, and to access that is so terribly important. And then a lot of our, like Luang Por last night was talking about doubt and how we get caught up with thinking and figuring out and what is this and what is that. I found that this is not a place you can doubt. What's to doubt? It is as it is. The open heart is the open heart. Not thinking. Doubt I can use. So I'm doing some kind of woodworking project workshop, and okay, what kind of wood should I use? How thick should it be? How big? And that's functional doubt, calculative thinking. But to resolve doubt through thinking, I don't think that, not spiritually, I don't think that works, because you don't know. But to resolve doubt through the heart, that works. Why? Because it's not thought. You're not thinking. Now, to kind of cultivate that is not. It can't be done with greed. I'm going to get this stuff called love. That doesn't work because that's greed. And this is the difficulty with any technique, any methodology you get in Buddhism. It can be so easily picked up as greed. Okay, I'm going to get that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to become that. And you're lost right away. Becoming itself is not love, is it? So Ajahn Sumedho's recommendation, it's like this. To me, it seems you got to do that first, right? It's like this, right? I feel crappy. It's like this. Or I feel great. It's like this. And that's the awakening of the mind. But then with the awakening of the mind, what might you do? What might you explore? What might you cultivate, right? But that's not from greed or aversion. It's from curiosity, from previous experience, from intuition, from all kinds of good places that we can cultivate. And that's what I do a lot. I don't know what you do, but I find more and more if I can speak with people from the heart. I mean, no, it sounds like a cliche, but I'm actually here and actually registering my response. The response is always very good. If I'm just in like a judgment of the person, or I'm jumping in because I think I have the answer, you know that kind of stuff. Usually it's clunky. It might not be bad, but it's clunky. It's not so great. So the Brahma-viharas, they quite often in Theravada we emphasize the list and so on, but the Brahma-viharas are terribly important because we are emotional beings, and the heart is I would say access point to freedom, isn't it? Don't you think so? To me, it seems like that seems the way to do it, because then it's not very complicated. It's very simple. It's thought that's complicated. Doubt, judgment, all that's complicated. And the thinking and the thinking that you shouldn't be what you are. But this is very simple. Very straightforward. Anyway, if you have a chance, anytime the heart opens in a wholesome way like this, just register it real strong, and be curious about that rather than just the object. Take something like cat videos or puppy videos or something like that. That might pull your heartstrings, okay? And then rather than thinking about the puppy, why not think about the heart? The heart's been opened, right? You can see that, well, that's frivolous. That's not enlightenment. That's like wasting your time. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't watch cat videos. But if that opens the heart, why not then just turn off the video and bring your attention to the heart and say, well, what's that really like? What is that? Explore that. Make that strong. Remind it. And maybe it'll come out when you see someone you don't like. When it's not a cat video. That'd be cool. Right? You kind of see someone you don't like or something you don't like, and you go to the heart and you process it there, and you're in spontaneity. You're not perpetuating a negative response. Don't know. I don't do cat videos. Anyway, it's a suggestion. So the Brahma-viharas, then, I think, do contemplate them. I think they're profound possibilities of human consciousness. So I'll leave that for your reflection.
Anamayan Dhamma Kachaya Sadhu Karam Dharamase Sadhu 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 Anumodana